Morning, Adam.
Morning.
Good evening, I should be saying.
Well, yeah, it's evening here, but yeah.
Yeah, back at it for another update. Bull, how you going?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's the evening here. You might hear kids screaming, but all good.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m. here, so no coffee yet, but let's tackle another update. So it's been a little while since the last update. Sex listing on Hotbit exchange. We've had hiring of new team members, UI UX designer, Pixel Group, branding and design work, and formulation and implementation of the upcoming DBLP marketing plan. The internal beta for the DBLP is going well by all accounts, Bull, and we've got ongoing talks with investors for the DBLP. Obviously, a situation has arose over the last few days, which everyone is aware of, and made me public enemy number one, and I can see and understand exactly why that would be the case. I just want to speak to that just quickly. An announcement in the Discord, if you haven't already seen it, but I made a decision to liquidate some of my holdings, and that was one that had been not taken lightly and had been playing on my mind for weeks and weeks, and making me quite anxious. And it's purely a personal reason, purely for personal, emotional reasons. There's no such reason that forced me to do so with regard to the fundamentals of the project or anyone on the team or anything like that. It was my unfortunate decision to make myself a little bit too uncomfortable in the size that I put on, and there's nothing else to it. I'm sorry and I apologize for the way that I went about things. It's definitely not the right way to go about it. But yeah, my commitment still remains with Basis Markets to continue building the product and make sure that we have success on the launch of the DBLP this quarter, and really up the marketing and the branding around Basis Markets leading into that, and sustain that throughout the implementation of the DBLP. So I can't stress enough that decision that I made was not taken lightly, and it was, probably more of an emotional one than anything. And I'm very, very sorry for the optics that it's caused, and I can definitely understand where people are coming from.
You're nearly going to make me feel bad for choosing this background in a minute. Probably not, but nearly.
Oh God, Adam.
But yeah, it's caused some sleepless nights, and I'm deeply regretful of the way I went about things, first and foremost. And I just want to stress that it's not anything to do fundamentally with the project. It's purely a personal decision where I bit off more than I could chew, and unfortunately, I had to do it for my own sanity and to make sure that I wasn't really emotionally involved with the day-to-day fluctuations in price, which it would, really affect my role with Basis Markets.
It's okay. I get the reasoning. I think it's not healthy to dwell on it anymore. I think that the execution could have been different, but I mean, it's completely understandable. And it's you bought it with your own money, so it's if anybody blames you for that, then move on.
Let's move on. It's done. It's dusted. It's just shit happens. Let's go on with it.
Okay. So DAO proposal number 2. Are you in favour of proposal number 2 to deploy DAO Treasury funds into Basis Markets products and services? So that passed with flying colours, and that has now been executed for the most part. Transferring the DAO assets to a multi-sig wallet, sell SOL into USDC, swap USDC into Basis, which has occurred over the last few days. And now we are at the stage where we're staking all of the Basis in the single-sided staking pool. So then there'll be phase 5 and phase 6, which will come over the next few weeks, next few months as the DBLP goes live. But for now, staked in the single-sided staking pool and accumulating those Basis rewards. Did you want to speak to that at all, Bull?
Yeah, so there's a couple of slides. I'll dive into this in a second. So one of the one of the big aspects for the basis token, I think you'll hear a lot more about this in upcoming town halls, is that collateralization of our basis for the DBLP is really important, because it allows for the convexity of the token and the usage of the token if people have the dollars in the token and want to receive yield on it, but then still want to be in the DBLP. So that's something big to consider. But yeah, I think that I can explain a couple of things if we move to the next couple of slides. So if we just go to the next slide.
Sure.
Yeah, so exit was around the $97 mark. I was personally not really in favor of selling at this point, but I'm not a magician. You can't predict the markets. So all that I cared about was to make sure that I executed properly without slippage or fees or anything like that. So we did this. We got 289,300 for it and some SOL. So I put everything above the 300 at the end into SOL to pay for transactions, as you know. And then the next slide, which I'm more excited about, is we used DBLP tooling. This is a piece of software that takes a wallet or a couple of wallets with a lot of SOL or dollars or whatever tokens you want, and then automatically creates an entire army of wallets and listens to all the market movements in the open markets on chain, and executes transactions with a forced slippage limit. And the bots talk to one another and make sure that once thresholds are reached, they back off a little bit or whatever. So we managed to get the nearly 300K entered at a decent price, which it was at that time, within a short amount of time. So that's kind of cool. We've learned a lot about the workings of the AMM, the central limit order book on Serum, and all the other methods and methodologies of getting in and out of tokens and perps on chain over the last weeks. This is specifically important for strategy execution for the DBLP. So yeah, it was. I mean, I might not personally agree with changing all the dollars or the SOL into tokens. But I try to make sure to adhere to the proposal parameters to not impact price too much, and to get people the bag of bases that they wanted. So yeah, for me it was a lot of fun to see our DBLP code working to effectuate a decision that the DAO made. So yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to see the DAO come together as well and formulate a plan and have that executed. An unexpected centralized exchange listing, Hotbit. So that was last week, and we don't really recommend Hotbit for trading at market because liquidity is not too great there at the moment. But it removes the need to get on chain and use Solana dexes. So if you're interested in that, that is available now as well. We have a little careers update. So at the moment, we're hiring for senior data and quantitative analyst or engineer, and that's going along nicely. And we're pretty overwhelmed at the quality and the number of applications that we received in each area. So over the course of March, we hired a senior front-end designer or UI UX designer, Pixel Group, and he's come on board and absolutely smashed out of the park. So there's a few slides here that will show you on the design and the branding that is going to be implemented over the coming days and weeks for a bit of a freshen up of the overall brand and the overall feel. And that's going to be quite important leading into the DBLP. Obviously, we want the website to really pop and have a lot of content to share on socials and get the ball rolling with a little bit of hype going into the DBLP. And Pixel Group's done a really, really good job, and I think you'll find it quite fresh and DeFi. Whereas at the moment, I think maybe we're a little bit TradFi in our branding. But yeah, we'll get to that in a few slides' time. Anything on that, Adam, as far as hiring?
No, nothing from me. I think the hiring process, just generally, just to kind of speak about that, it's so slow. No matter how much money you throw at the problem, it's just frustratingly slow. So whilst we had to get our shit together for finding the right people, just the market. There's loads and loads of people paying loads and loads of top dollar for really, really good people. And it's just one of those things. It's frustrating, and it's really, you can control so many variables in any business, but the state of the labor market is something you can't control, and it's just shit, and it drives me nuts. But that's just there's more of a macro view of the situation. It annoys Bull, it annoys all of us. The people we have got have been amazing, but you just need like 10 times more of them. So if we could start putting Grey Fox through the clone machine, I'd be well happy.
Yeah, definitely. So touching on that, the recent development on the design side of things, brand overhaul, landing page redesign, which will be leaked, I think, over the coming weeks. We've kind of planned that at the moment. We don't want to smash it too early in the case that, you know, the website changes are a little bit delayed, but we think we're getting to a point where we're ready to start leaking that and start showing you guys. And all of that's going to support that marketing plan that we formulated as well. The BTE, the basis trade engine, we've had fixed long and short trades, improved confidence in the algorithms, small bug fixes, expect more funding opportunities, and released educational videos 4 and 5. On the so we fully replaced TARDIS, our original data provider. Bull, did you have anything on that? Because that's a pretty big step for us to ensure that we're fully dependent on our own pipelines.
Yeah, sure. So correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but TARDIS was something like 50K a year or something like that for a data stream. And I think I understand why they exist, and I think that it's a pretty neat tool. They do some beautiful open source work as well, specifically around Serum order book notifications. Somebody's got their phone on for beeps.
Oh, sorry, it was me. Oh, it was me. Come on, keep going.
Yeah, so they're great, but the problem is that they are based on a WebSocket sync on each of the exchanges and other sources, which means that they are accepting certain drop-off of points of data. We really need exact data to do the execution that we intend to do. So Grey Fox predominantly has built an entire data acquisition infrastructure, which is stateless, which means that, you know, you can murder one of the workers and then add another worker and nothing will really change. It's written as infrastructure as a service, so we can reboot an entire cluster if we need to. It's fault tolerant. It's got sort of self-monitoring in it, so that's pretty cool. It's a service that we intend to open up, obviously against payment to other parties that might be interested, because it is very solid. But yeah, that's been replaced and it's doing an epic job.
They're one of those things. They're one of those things that's just like, without, yes, you can just say, hey, it's saved 50 grand, but it's not. It's all the other implications of data aggregation, to collection, ability to manipulate the data that we've created. That it's just one of those things that you just kind of look back and go, does that help the end user with a token price, or does that help the deal? It's really hard to justify, but without it, we're absolutely stuffed. And it's one of those things that's one of the myriad of things that go on under the covers that people don't see, that just, just want it all in that kind of magic box. And it's just massive amounts of effort from the guys have to pull off these things week in, week out.
No doubt.
Nearly gave you a compliment then, Bull.
I live for that shit. Yeah.
Okay, so development in the team. We spoke about Pixel Group joining. Currently 10 people working full-time and hiring. As we just spoke about, hiring a senior quant engineer. Now, the proposal number 2 passed. We've got phase 1 completed, 2 and 3 completed. And the DAO platform, we're finishing the last tests on that. And there's a lot of commentary around from Congito particularly and the community team to make sure that we're communicating the whole DAO platform and our migration and all the ongoings about that. So you'll hear more about that over the coming weeks from those guys. Here we go. One for Bull again. recent development in the data infrastructure side of things? We probably spoke a little bit about that already.
Yeah, so I'm really speaking for Grey Fox here because this is entirely. I mean, the guy has done insane work over the past couple of months. I mean, he started in January, if I'm not mistaken, but not fully yet. And the things that he has built are remarkable, to say the least. So, yeah, we have, like I said, a deterministic infrastructure. That means that we can deploy cloud agnostically the infrastructure that we need. We have a good data layer, which is secured and sort of self-healing. We understand what's going on, what's not going on. The streaming ingestion system is quite important because we have a lot of data sources from different points, and we'll have a lot more coming. So currently we're on Solana and we're on centralized exchanges. You can think of that as two areas where we're getting data from. So in Solana, it's accounts which have information that we have to decode, or mint supplies, or vault accounts and so forth to get protocol information. But then from the sexes, it's all the stuff like the candles, the OI, the volume, and the funding. Crucially, key management. So I've been dealing with a lot of the FUD in the Discord, so it's your fault that I'm not sharing a beautiful picture of the DBLP. You will get that in the coming weeks, unfortunately. But one of the things I do want to say is the following: is that part of the coolness, I think, about the smart contract that handles the epochs and the deposits is that we are generating a new set of keys, new set of accounts, new sets of information for every single epoch that the strategies run in. And it's not only those accounts, there are handover accounts, staging accounts, in-between accounts, and all of these are managed automatically. We have some pretty cool key management and vaulting infrastructure. That's a big headache for decentralized work, is how the hell do you manage all of these secrets without having only program-derived addresses and everything locked up in a smart contract? So we want to be flexible. We've got strategies that we're able to execute from CLI right now. So we're able to send those on chain and do the movements. And the whole mesh that exists kind of is glued together by a lot of modern infrastructure tools that we are using. So the interesting part of it is that everything's built for the future. So it's built for adding on another chain once we start moving into Terra and into ETH and Cosmos and so forth. So yeah, the Grey Fox and I sat down and we designed, what should this look like in 2 years, and let's work back from that now and start building the best thing that we've built so far. So I love my job. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. All right. Now, something that's fresh and fun is the branding. So that has, over the last month or so that Pixel Groove has come on board, we've had multiple sit downs and chats and some brainstorming that's resulted in some ideas that have come across the desk or the computers of the founders, and we've picked apart what we do and what we don't like, and we're still going through that process, but we're getting closer to a point where we could start to implement some of these designs. So I just wanted to speak to why we are doing this and where we are going with this. So why redesign the brand? I think to greater reflect our brand proposition and our place in the market. So I guess being in DeFi, being in Solana, sorry, there's a fly flying about, to reflect the DeFi fresh, slick kind of look that you see across DeFi platforms, DeFi protocols. Maybe we didn't fit alongside some of those other projects, and maybe that was a good thing or a bad thing, but we've seen it as an opportunity to work with the original design, the original feel that we had with the basis markets design, and kind of spruce it up a little bit, add some color, add some DeFi edge or whatever you want to call it to the design, and that's where we're going. So combining the TradFi type of feel, experience and strategy with expertise in data science, machine learning to deliver our logo. So I'm going to show that in a little bit to show the thought process behind the new logo. But that's to deliver delta neutral returns as we are basis markets and grassroots ownership. So this is notes from Pixel, things that were considered in the redesign. So we have an existing brand buy-in already, and we are a sole DeFi project, but not defined by Solana. As Bull just mentioned, we'll be looking across chain, across centralized exchanges. So we're not wanting to be defined by Solana and by the Solana colors, the green and purple. I wanted to be a little bit more fresher and a little bit more flexible around the design. So the process was initially a large amount of designs were showed to the team, basically a brain dump, and then there were two directions favored. So we had a few ideas and a few favorites, I guess, from the initial meetings, and then we had an evolution of those lines. So you can see on the page here, we had shifting in the font dynamics, shifting in the logos, and the first drafts up in the top right corner. So there was a lot of ideas thrown around, and that led us to the second meeting, the third meeting, and sitting down for a fourth, and I think maybe even a fifth to finalise what we thought as a team. So font opinions were pretty divided. Bull, having a little bit of an architecture background, he's pretty content on his thick with the double C font. Whereas Dennis and myself were a little bit more keen on the thinner style.
Yeah, I like him thick,
yeah, we've come to a bit of a conclusion. We've come to some common ground, so that's good. I think that's all I wanted to speak to on that. So you can see that there were a few options top right. This is kind of the evolution of our thoughts. So going from this slide here originally, the top right, going to the top right again on this next slide, and creating a custom font. So Pixel Groove was able to do that himself, and I tend to like it. I think it's got a little bit of a character to it, and it stands out from your typical fonts that you see thrown about. So taking elements from Kurian New and Red Hat Mono, simplifying into a custom logo type. And we've got the recognizable B as well, with B being pretty critical to our current design, our current brand, our current feel. That B is going to be critical, obviously, with the circle designs on dexes when you're swapping tokens or whatever you're doing. That B will pop up quite a lot. So we thought that was pretty critical. And here it is. This is the apologies, I haven't drank any water or anything yet, so my voice is very croaky. But Basis Markets, that's the new logo. So we've got the fresh kind of pale blue and a little bit of a sky blue, and the custom font. And we're keeping the dot, but that's going to be quite flexible depending on where it's used. And we're thinking about, taking the markets away in places and just having the basis. So you'll see iterations of this design popping up on different locations. So you'll see something on the website, you'll see something on Twitter, you'll see something on letterheads, you'll see different designs pop up in
I
different
fucking love
places.
it. I love it. I'm proud of this. I am proud of this.
Yeah, it's cool, huh? Originally, I thought the colors were a little bit. Yeah, he's really good. I thought the colors were a little bit. I was stuck on the Solana colors or the slightly more Solana colors in the beginning, but I've come around to the sky blue and the lighter blue. It's really cool.
I think it looks shit up. I love it.
Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, you'll see that updated on our socials in the first instance. So Twitter, Discord, etc. Pixel's actually gone and he's got some animated logos as well. So we'll throw those about over the coming 24 to 48 hours and give a little bit of a refresh to the Discord, a refresh to the Twitter, and maybe even the Medium page as well. So just some thoughts on the logo itself. There's a little bit of a meaning to it, or a story behind it. So originally you had the short and long type of feel with the basis stripes, or what do we call them? Lines, stripes. Stripes sounds a bit boomer, but lines. And then uptrending, we evolved into that, and then you got delta neutral. So it looks like an N, but it's not really meant to be, but it does look like an N. So you got the long and the short side of things. There's a little bit of a story, I guess, that fit in with the overall evolution of the basis logo. Cool. And then that takes us on to marketing and partnerships. So we put our heads together, the community team, myself, and the other founding team, to put a marketing plan in place, and that's been under development for a little while now, and that will lead us into a steady pump on the socials, pump on the engagement into the DBLP launch. So at the moment, it's very, very heavy on the developer side of things. So Bull, Grey Fox, and the developer team are working their asses off. And in the background, we're planning, I guess, a steady rise and a steady uptick in engagement leading into the DBLP when we have a product to pump and a product to show everyone and get everyone involved. So at the moment, we're planning for that. And that's seen some decent results over the last month. So we've had 20% increase in followers on Twitter, 151% increase on impressions. And you can see the rest of the 28-day summary just there. So 63.5% increase in profile visits, mentions 38.4%, up 38.4%. And we are verified on Twitter as well. So that's a very good thing for the authenticity and I guess the trust in the brand in the first instance. If someone scrolls across Basis Markets, they see the blue tick. There's some kind of level of, hey, this is a verified page and we can look to explore this page a little bit more. It's a little bit more interesting than other pages that might not be. We're also looking to establish connections across Solana, so reaching out to protocols to see if they need a hand or if we can partner in any way, and looking to see if we can get on AMAs and chats, this town hall environment with the likes of Mango, with the likes of Orca and those protocols. So that will be happening. I've had some interest in that as well over the last month. So that will be happening leading into the DBLP. So there'll be a steady rise in all of that side of things. Bull, you had some information on the OpenSea listing.
Yeah, it's passed. So the OpenSea, the collection is completely verified now. So it should just be listing on there. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So I'll sell all my NFTs then. That's a joke. That's a joke. Jesus Christ, I'm not going to dump my NFT. Too soon?
I don't know. Maybe too soon.
Okay. Bull, I think I'll hand it over to you now, mate.
Yeah, sorry about that. DBLP development. Yeah, humor is sort of my coping mechanism for sleep deprivation. DBLP. We have a smart contract, which is very exciting. So the original design that we shared is coming into fruition. It's flexible. It allows for a hybrid approach, so we can test strategies off-chain, centralized. And I know that's a very dirty word, but I care more about speed and making people money than being adherent to some sort of altruistic standard. The thing is what we can do is we have fund protection through the multi-sig contract, which was audited by Certic. That's quite bullish in my opinion, because it allows for no single point of failure with regards to fund management and transfer. So not only people, but parts of the software altogether need to say okay to a certain movement instead of just one point of failure. Doing that reduces the risk that we're facing in terms of infrastructure failure a lot, which is good. We've built a lot of trade execution and on-chain tools, which help in risk management, layering, and the kind of volume that we want to do. So that's quite important. I know there's a lot of questions on risk management. I saw a question by BitLogic, I don't know what your real name is, but about several questions with regards to that. Just a quick answer, we're not going to write an entire PDF on how we're going to do it, but we are open to questions. But yeah, we're building this into the code. There's a lot of data collection and ingestion for instruments, like I said earlier, for SEX pairs and decentralized pairs. There's data collection for all major Solana protocols. So what are the rates like on Solend? What are the rates like on Francium? What are the rates like on Tulip? Others that are coming up. More importantly, we're testing strategies. So basis trades, MEV, which is really atomic arbitrage on Solana, market making, which is quite profitable actually. Auto hedging, leverage yield farms, auto rebalancing there, arbitrage aspects. So the main focus right now is to put all of these components together and getting mainnet beta in a capped release. So initially we won't go YOLO accepting infinite dollars, but we will limit it to a level initially to fill up the insurance fund, test the certain actions. We'll be deploying a lot of our own capital in it. Those kind of steps. So if you go to the next slide, it's a little bit of a slide which I'm going to be nailed to the cross for. I'm already 100% sure. So for your Discord footers, I put in a massive fucking asterisk, which is these are targets, not deadlines.
Don't worry, they've all mentally deleted the asterisks and the bit at the bottom.
Yeah, when yield.
That is now in the Magna Carta.
Yeah.
Someone's already got that to the printers.
Yeah, I've never built a company where you are held instantly accountable by your customers, but it's kind of fun as well. So anyway, just getting to the brass tacks of it. This is why you're here. I have DevNet running and testing. There's still some features I still need to finish and build. I've made a couple of decisions today to allow me to focus a little bit more on that, to accelerate that a bit. My goal is still to have internal mainnet beta releases. It means real dollars. Early May for the team predominantly, and some trusted advisors that we know personally and have met. This means that 3 strategies will be live, and this will be sufficient of a DBLP ecosystem to get audits planned and initiated. Internal is also capped. June, as promised, making sure that we have an external but capped release to keep stuff safe. The insurance fund will start building up, or has been building up by then. Audits will be pending or finalizing, depending on how fast or slow they are. As you can imagine, auditors, especially the good ones, in very high demand in Solana, and they cost an absolute fortune. We'll be adding more strategies, first in CLI form and then automated, and thereafter in smart contract form. So the way that we do this is we test first all the components manually, then we automate it in our infrastructure, and then we graduate them to smart contracts if they are sufficiently solid. And as we go along, obviously we want to gradually increase the cap and remove the cap. I think the geniuses at UXD have done a great job at this, sort of ramping up initially, setting a cap, and then removing the cap. What I'm most excited about is that Basis, even though it's called Basis, not only about basis trades, but it's, like I've said before, it's the yield extraction machine. So we want to be able to extract yield wherever possible, and no stone will be left unturned. Also, I think as we move into July, we'll start experimenting with more drastic size increases after the initial stability of the protocol and security has been verified, tested, and audited, which is only normal. I think if you heard us saying that we would open the floodgates fully right off the beginning, you should be scared. So, and without further pause, let's go to the next slide.
Awesome. I think that's the last one.
Oh, well, that was it. I have something more to add, which is that there's a load of questions. I myself, especially in the coming months, I'm not going to be super active in the Discord, but I do want to encourage a healthy discourse, which means prepared, well thought of questions. I'm not going to read PDFs. I'm A, scared about the security impact, and B, I don't have the time to read the PDF. So if you can't ask it in a bullet, then maybe think about it again. However, I do want to encourage sort of some sort of open channel. We'll think about the form or how we do that within the Discord, but there are some really clever people in our community, and in between all the FUD, they're asking very decent questions, which are, all right, well, how the hell are you going to manage risk on a 100 million position? Which is a very fair question, and if we cannot answer it, then we're not worth the salt. So bring them on, bring on healthy questions, which is really important, and looking forward to the coming months.
Cool. Thank you, Bull. I think there's a few questions just popping up in the chat, so I'm just going to have a look regarding the DBLP, what you've just spoke about. So Rob's question is, can you speak a bit on how the bid for the BM now will be funded and pegged? This is probably more of a complex question than you realise, but briefly.
Do you want me to give a real base summary?
Yeah.
So basically, if there is, let's say there's $10 million in profit, we literally do a conversion of those 10 million USDC to the equivalent BM now, and we'll provide a bid, like a 1 cent bid. I mean, you might get 1 million tokens of BM now, which you can sell into that 1 cent bid. Once those $10 million worth of BM now is consumed, or everyone's done a conversion, that'll disappear, and then the next year or next months will appear. That's how any kind of funding operation is created. There are secondary, without dwelling too much, there are secondary opportunities that can spill from those type of operations, where not everyone will sell their BM nows on the bid, or Bull will probably work out some way of capitalizing the BM now or depositing the BM now before it even gets to arrive in the pool. All sorts of weird and wonderful things.
Yeah.
But
On-chain arbitrage.
Yeah, to answer the question, it is a conversion from USDC to a BM now token, and a bid will be provided, and your allocation that will be sent to your wallet will be the exact amount of your allocation. If you've got 100 million tokens, and we've got 10 million to go in, you'll have the equivalent at 1 cent value tokens placed into your wallet that you will then have the ability to sell, or not sell, or do some other funky stuff with.
Yeah. So we'll make sure that supply of BM now tokens never outweighs the dollar demand. Right. So it'll always be in equilibrium. And
we know what they'll be. It's just for us. And anyone else wants to get a calculator out, it's pretty easy. If there's $10 million of profit and there's a billion tokens, you can work out exactly how much BM now will be. And you can also work out how many people will also display how many people have redeemed. But that'll be, Bull and the boys will make something that shows that. So that's to make it a bit more fun of secondary markets and secondary opportunities.
Yeah, because in effect, it'll be like a stable coin which depegs to a beneficial direction at some point. And the thing is that if it's that, then it can be reinvested in the DBLP, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. But let's not promise too much. Let's believe.
Yeah, but like years down the road, you could do something like you could potentially, I don't know, if you didn't redeem your token, you could potentially have some sort of discount, or so to then now suddenly then create a value, an additional sub value to something, which is how the likes of kind of port finance create a lending market around those things. So you could but it's years down the line that stuff is. Let's just keep it simple.
Cool. Awesome. Just one last question that I've noticed as far as the internal beta for the DBLP, there was a question surrounding the NFT owners. Will the internal capped DBLP include NFT owners?
Answer that right now. It's a good question, but we should come out with some clarity once we know a little bit more. I think that within the first 2 weeks of May, we will be able to give quite exact timelines and moments, and we're definitely taking this into consideration. And NFT owners will get access to the first set of the cap, obviously, before any sort of outside participants. Sorry, Tom Segretti, I wish I could give you an exact answer, but the internal cap will include it, but it will be a bit more complex than it's outlined here in the slides.
Any more questions, Ted?
No, all good. We'll answer the rest if there are any in the Discord. So please reach out to the community guys if you want some follow-up on those questions. But thanks for tuning in. I think that's all we've got to say today. Again, we'll be updating the brand. That will probably be one of the largest changes out of this. I guess aesthetically and tangibly, you'll see the brand update over the coming 24 to 48 hours on Twitter, on Discord, across the socials, as well as obviously under the hood, there'll be updates 24/7 on the DBLP by Bull and the team. So thanks for joining in. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Bull. Hopefully this was insightful. And again, I won't go on about my personal decisions, but hopefully a little bit of an explanation provided some context and helped out a little bit with the confusion surrounding the situation. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Cheers, Adam.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.